is the Speaker for the House race. A wide open field for Speaker of the House has emerged after Congressman Jim Jordan dropped out on Friday. Now, 9 Republicans are in the running and will make their cases to their fellow Republicans during a closed-door meeting later on tonight. They're reportedly aiming for a conference vote on Tuesday, as nearly 3 weeks have passed since Congressman Kevin McCarthy was ousted as Speaker. Let's bring in Mick Mulvaney, former acting White House Chief of Staff for President Trump, and also Chris Hahn, former senior aide to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Okay, gentlemen, who's going to be behind mystery door number 3? That's the question. Mick, let me start with you. You're a former congressman yourself. Which of these candidates likely has the edge here? And do any of them have a path to 217?
Good morning, Markie. My guess is that Tom Emmer is a member of the leadership team for the Republicans, so that everybody in the conference has already voted for him for something. But that's really the only sort of person that you think might have a little bit of momentum, but still it's not very much. Keep in mind, the simple fact that there's 9 people running tells you that there is no likely sort of front runner. This is a wide open race. Half of these folks, by the way, have been in Congress only a couple of years, and there's not a lot of other people from the Republican leadership who are running. There's no committee chairman. The head of the NRCC is not running. The vice chair of the party is not running. There's a lot of big names that are not running. So my guess is that tells you that there's a friend of mine, Markie, told me over the weekend that we don't have, this is a member of Congress, we don't have 217 votes right now for Jesus, Mary, and Joseph put together. And that sounds about right.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And I have a feeling the chaos is just going to continue this week, and it needs to come to an end. Chris, Mick just brought up a point that I wanted to ask you about. You know, with some of these names in this grouping of 9 having only been in Congress for a couple of years, with some of these names, I thought there's not enough name recognition here, but maybe that's what it's going to take. I mean, are any of these candidates acceptable enough to Democrats that they may be willing to strike a deal here?
Deals for votes for leadership from the other party are not free. So if the Republicans want to cross the aisle and find a deal, I think there would be some willingness to do that on the Democratic side. In fact, I think Speaker Jeffries said that last week. I think that the current interim speaker, Mr. McHenry, is probably the best situated person to actually make that deal and actually have some Democratic support behind him. But when you look at this list, other than Mr. Emmer, who Mick just mentioned, most of these people don't even know where all the hearing rooms are in Congress yet because they haven't been there long enough. 3 years, some of them, less than 3 years, some of them who are being taken seriously in this vote. I think that we've got to end this very soon before we come into some problems with the funding of the government, which is going to expire on November 15th. We have aid for Israel, aid for Ukraine, other matters of serious importance that this Congress needs to take up. And the longer this continues, the more it jeopardizes the security of this nation and the benefits that many Americans are depending on.
Yeah, and you just laid out everything that's happening right now. You know, to your point, the world does seem like it's on fire. Mick, the House can't get their act together to get work done that might actually help quell some of these flames happening worldwide. What's more important politically for Republicans right now? Is it getting a candidate that could unify the party, one that could ensure there won't be a government shutdown, not giving billions of dollars, you know, to wars on foreign soil? What's top priority here?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Keep in mind, there has not been much cost politically to this for the last 2 weeks. Certainly been no cost legislatively. There's nothing to vote on right now regarding Israel. That's getting ready to change, we think, this week. There's also nothing to vote on yet on keeping the government open. That would change over the course of the next couple of weeks. So the cost for being out of government for a couple of weeks has not been high. That is going to change this week, and that is not lost on the Republicans. There's going to be a group who wants somebody who's very conservative. There's going to be a group who wants somebody who's fairly centrist. But everybody wants this to be over, with a possible exception of the anarchist 7 who started this in the first place. But the temperature will go up this week, Markie, which is why I think you'll start to see more progress. I'm not sure that the ultimate speaker is on that list of 9. I still don't cross out Mr. McCarthy. I don't cross out Mr. McHenry. But there will be a lot of progress this week because the temperature in Washington, D.C. will start going up.
Yeah, or is it someone who's not even in Congress? You know, to your point of not even Mary and Jesus and Joseph are, you know, getting the 217.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.